Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Haley and I make content all about life with multiple chronic illnesses. So if you enjoy the type of content, make sure to subscribe down below. Click that notification bell right by the subscribe button. And today's video is going to be all about my chronic illnesses. I suffer from 9 different chronic illnesses, and as you could imagine, it's a lot to take in. And I've gotten quite a few requests to make a video all about my chronic illnesses. So I've already made a video about mitochondrial disease and gastroparesis. So if you want to watch those videos, I will link them in the cards up above for a more in-depth look at each condition. But I'm going to be kind of summarizing everything and sharing. So this might be a longer video, so if you want to skip around, check out the description box. I will have timestamps that you can skip around throughout the video too, and let's get started. So for those of you not familiar with me, or you don't exactly know what I have what's called mitochondrial DNA disease, and it's very life-threatening. I don't even know why I smiled, but it's very life-threatening and very serious. People can be either affected mildly or severely, and basically it's when your mitochondria energy in your cells around your body fail to function properly. So if you imagine a cell phone at 15%, no matter how much you charge it, no matter what you try, what experiments you do, it stays at 15%, and when you use it, the percentage goes down. That's my body. I don't have enough mitochondria energy like I should. So my body goes haywire and goes crazy, and it triggers all of these other conditions, and the same with other mitochondrial disease patients. And like I said, you can be affected mildly or severely, and I'm in the more moderate right now. 2 years ago, I was definitely on the severe side, so it's definitely a roller coaster. And again, if you want to learn more about mitochondrial disease, what exactly it is, what are the symptoms, check out my What is Mitochondrial Disease video, because that will explain it all. But it affects your whole body, all of your organs, all of your systems, everything. For me, it affects every part of my body. And you know, there are parts of my body that are affected but I'm not symptomatic, but then there's other parts of my body like my heart and my autonomic nervous system that have been affected or are affected. So it's definitely something very scary, and I feel like guilty not even really going into it, but it is so complex and it can be an umbrella term, so it's a lot to take in. Like I also mentioned, because my body goes haywire, all of these other conditions get triggered, and I have had mitochondrial DNA disease my whole entire life, never had a day without it, and it's genetic and it was maternally inherited, so I inherited it from my mom. But I was diagnosed at 5, after 5 years of trying to find a diagnosis. The next condition I'm going to be talking about is chronic fatigue syndrome, and like MITO, which I'm going to refer as mitochondrial disease as MITO. I've had this my whole entire life. I've again never had a day without it. I've always had it, and chronic fatigue syndrome is exactly what it sounds like. It's intense fatigue, a lot of concentrating problems, a lot of brain fog, a lot of forgetfulness, and it's not easy at all. And even though I'm used to it, that still is really hard for me. And that is the number one thing that I am always affected by, regardless of how the rest of my health is. Fatigue is usually the number one problem, and unfortunately, all of the conditions I share about in this video don't have any cure. They have possible treatments and supplements that can help, but there is no cure. There is no necessarily making you feel better. And that's hard, because chronic fatigue syndrome can be debilitating, where you're in bed and where you are so weak and so tired and you sleep all the time, but when you wake up you're still so tired, and it's horrible. Next, I'm going to talk about cyclic vomiting syndrome. I'm going to be honest, I hate talking about this. Not because I don't want to raise awareness, and not because I'm upset I have it necessarily. It's just the condition that has caused me the most trauma, emotionally and physically, and I hate thinking about it, but I am going to share about it. So when I was 5 years old, like I had mentioned, I was diagnosed with mitochondrial disease, but I was also diagnosed with cyclic vomiting syndrome. I started having what we called episodes every month to every other month. For the first 5 years of my life, we were in and out of the hospital, and in these episodes, I would experience shakiness, like on a whole nother level. It's not anything like blood sugar shaky or like caffeine or sugar, like none of that. It's on another level, and I would get extremely lethargic. In an episode, I am severely sensitive to light and smells. I have to be in a I have to be in a cool, dark room, quiet room, and if I even smell anything, sometimes anything and everything sets me off. So I also would get the cold sweats. I would be extremely weak, and I couldn't eat and I couldn't drink, and I don't know how to explain it. I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink. I literally, if I'm in an episode, there are times where I need to eat to get something in me, and I can't swallow it. And the biggest symptom for me, besides the shakiness and nausea, is this very distinct feeling in my throat. And I don't know if anybody else experiences this. I honestly have no idea if it's something with my throat itself or esophagus whenever I'm in a CVS episode, but it's a very distinct feeling in my throat. And I've never been able to explain it, but it is so incredibly distinct. Once I was diagnosed at 5, I was put on medication by my genetic doctor, and everything was pretty good for 6 years, and then with the onset of puberty, when I was 11, I relapsed, and that was in 2012, and in 2013, I added another med, and that helped me stop my episodes, for the most part. And then in 2016, long story short, my health got horrible, really, really bad, really quickly, and I got sick with a virus, which literally triggered all of my conditions. It triggered cyclic vomiting syndrome. However, I did not notice it because it presented itself differently. So my body is weird and wacky, and certain conditions, things appear differently. And CVS appeared differently with my meds. So, long story short, I was super shaky, and the only thing that would make me stop being shaky and stop me being super weak was being on IV fluids, which helped create extra energy for my body to fight off the CVS episode, but my body wouldn't. It wasn't happening, and eventually I got to the point where I was so sick and all the CVS symptoms flooded in all at once that my whole body almost failed. And I know that's just a small summary, and that probably sounds all dramatic, but that's what happened. So I did have an experimental treatment in June of 2016, and that got me out of the coalescent CVS episode, which was a prolonged CVS episode for 6 months. We didn't know for 4 of the So the next condition I'm going to be talking about that I was diagnosed with at the beginning of 2015 was complex regional pain syndrome. Towards the end of 2014, my right arm hurt a lot. I thought I injured myself, but we went to urgent care. Everything was good. We had an x-ray. There's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. However, I was dealing with pain. I was dealing with pins and needles, feeling my arm was swollen and it hurt, and of course it was my right arm. It was from my elbow to my wrist, and no meds helped. Like ibuprofen, sorry, something was on my foot. Ibuprofen didn't help, nothing helped, and that wasn't fun. I did kind of get used to it. I didn't have a choice, but we were searching for answers, and then eventually that pain went away. So we thought nothing of it, and then at the beginning of 2015, the same pain, same exact symptoms came back. Swollen, painful, pins and needles, there's discoloration, and my doctor, my geneticist, ended up diagnosing me with CRPS, and there's no cure. Of course there isn't. And in 2015, I actually ended up having to be admitted into the hospital because my body is so complicated that both of my legs were in pain at a full 10. I could barely walk, and my neck was hurting too. And my doctor said that was not normal and to go in to get fluids. Guys, this was what, 3 years ago, so I don't remember much, but all I know is that fluids helped. And after a few days there, for the most part, I was good. I still dealt with pain, but it was much more manageable. So this is gonna, I keep feeling like I'm saying this is gonna get a little confusing. So I don't know how exactly these two conditions are connected in my body. I don't know why. I don't know the genetic component. I have no idea, but my doctor can probably explain it. But somehow, some way, my hemiplegic migraines, my complex regional pain syndrome is like intertwined with hemiplegic migraines. Like, that makes no sense. And I'll say what hemiplegic migraines is, which is what it sounds like, a migraine, except most of the symptoms are actually stroke-like. For me, I got all the stroke-like symptoms, but I never got the migraine pain. And so I dealt with slurred speech, funky gait, which is I was basically walking like a toddler, and I would get visual auras, I think that's what they're called. I wasn't able to find words. I would say bathtub and meant to say shower, vice versa, and it was getting really frustrating, and my parents were getting really concerned because it wasn't normal. They brought it up to my doctor, and he ended up putting me on L-arginine, which is an amino acid, and that helped get all of my symptoms under control. And when I'm really tired, I still sometimes get slurred speech here and there. Sometimes I forget what I'm like, words, saying the wrong things, but overall it's nothing bad. That is what I experienced. But as soon as I was put on arginine, everything was under control, and surprisingly my CRPS symptoms were all under control as well. So I've dealt with both of those conditions here and there, but it has not been like it was before. So the next condition I'm going to share about is dysautonomia, and I believe that's how you say it. At least that's been how I've said that my whole life. And I've had this my whole life again, and it is the failure of your autonomic nervous system. And if you don't know what your autonomic nervous system is, it's a lot of the important things. Your blood sugar, your blood pressure, your heart rate, what else? Your vision, your GI system, all of the important things that your body does within itself. So it affects everything. And like mitochondrial disease, it is an umbrella term. So that means there are conditions caused by dysautonomia. And by the way, there is no cure, but it causes other conditions. So not only do I deal with the dysautonomia, which I deal with most of the symptoms, especially regulating my temperature, my heart rate, my blood pressure, my blood sugar, everything. I'm really sensitive to light, and I have to wear sunglasses whenever I'm outside now. And other parts of my body are affected that I don't want to get into, but it's a crap condition. Mitochondrial disease triggered dysautonomia, which triggered gastroparesis, which is the paralyzing of your stomach, and I made a video all about that. Again, it's in the cards above, so you can check that out to learn more what it is in depth. But a lot of things, my stomach's paralyzed. At times it's hard for me to digest food. I get nauseous. I lose my appetite a lot. I get aversions. It's weird. Sometimes certain foods I can't, make me want to throw up. And also with that, sometimes it takes a few days to digest normal food. And I also get dysmotility, which is similar to gastroparesis. It's just in my gut, so they're both out to get my GI system, and it's not fun at all. But it's what I have in life, and I have to make the best out of it. And I've been doing really good with those, luckily. Right now those are under control for the most part. I just have to be really careful of what I eat. And I also do have irritable bowel syndrome, which just figure out what bowels mean. Yeah, you can figure out what that means if you don't know what it means already. And the last condition that I have that I'm going to be talking about is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, also known as POTS. And this one is a fun one. This one is mainly under control, but it's one of the more feistier ones of my conditions. For me, what happens is when I get up, go from laying down to standing, or even sitting, or I bend over and come back up, my blood pressure goes low and my heart rate goes high. Luckily right now it is mainly controlled under medication, so I'm not dealing with that as often. I still deal with it and have to be careful not to get up too fast. The symptoms just aren't your blood pressure dropping and your heart rate rising. The symptoms are dizziness, lightheadedness. A lot of people pass out. I'm pretty sure I've gotten to that point at one point. There's also fatigue and brain fog, and can also trigger anxiety, which for me, for the most part, it does trigger my anxiety. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. I'm really happy that I finally made it because it was requested and you guys wanted to see it. So don't forget to comment down below anything you want. Let me know any video suggestions, or even share your story if you want. And like this video, subscribe down below, click that notification bell so you will not miss a thing. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys.